let's say, for example, that all these people leave, the people who have the money. Say, for example, they do, and they are moving out now, and you know
quite
as
a
well
few
as
of the
I do,
people
that
who
a lot
have
of money.
Quite a few of the people who have the money, that's right,
Yes,
are leaving.
All right, okay.
And quite a few of them who are used to thinking that the natives, and I'm sorry to feel bitter because I live in Montreal. Recently, I was in a so-called non-public, one of those private affairs with young businessmen. Next to me was sitting the grandson of someone who was something or other like a lieutenant governor at the time when we were completely the natives. Next, on the other side, was the nephew of Mr. McLaughlin, the president of the Royal Bank, and a few of the, all of them around the 30 or 35-year-old group, calling themselves the Whiff of Grape, very elegant little club for dinners once a month. We were discussing in private. I was trying to be very polite when one of them came up and said to me, and this was typical of the money group among that dominant minority in Montreal. He said, when you guys have finished doing what you're doing, you'll come groveling back. You know what the word means? Yes. Groveling back to us. Now, this was one of a few instances in the last few years that have helped me in a way you can't imagine to make damn sure that it's going to happen the way we think. And it is going to happen. Yes. Some of those should leave for our own health. And the quicker they leave, the better. But the low people, as to use your word, in other words, the guy that has to earn a living, and God knows there's more of them than there is of the other bunch. They're not that traumatized or, banged over the head by a possible change. I know a lot of friends in my riding who are taxi drivers, clerks in stores. Some of them are English, some of them are Jews, some of them are immigrants of other descriptions. And they say if things are done reasonably, and we are respected, and we have members among those groups in our movement right now, and they're in growing numbers. They say this might become, in spite of what I think M. Desrochers was saying, a more just and a more equitable and a fairer society if it administers and develops itself than if it has this sort of irresponsibility that was going on for too long.
Yes, so
and I think this, without any guarantee, because nobody can be sure of the future, this we'd have a better chance of doing on our own than in the present setup.
What I'm afraid
of... And the low people, as you say, are more and more in agreement with that.
Yeah, well, what I'm afraid of, and I certainly agree, I'm afraid of the fact that what will happen in Quebec is what has happened in many developing countries who have separated, that a government of elite will come into power.
I don't believe it.
Will benefit from the independence in a monetary way.
My dear young lady, what you have now in Ontario and in Ottawa is a government of elite, money elite, mostly.
Yes, but I want to
you take a look, including with the political virgins, whether they're Trudeau or Pelletier or your English brand. You take a look at a report that has come out 2 years ago, called the Barbeau Report, for instance, on the completely rotten system of financing that you call political life, and we call traditionally political life. The old-line parties that are financed by slush funds in the background. It's just about the only part of any kind of public life where you tolerate it. Even a charity campaign. Legislation says that if you do anything that has to do with getting money from the public, you have to make a report and have a sort of open face that people can check. But the parties that you give government to, including billions of dollars of taxes, good legislation or bad legislation, pressure in the background or responsibility facing people, you couldn't care less. Normally, we've been doing that traditionally. We give that to parties that are in the background, exposed continuously to corruption by money, by big interests. Well, I think, and we're working like hell because it would have been easier to try and finagle it through an old-line party. We're trying to set up a Democratic Party, which will be financed, including by low people, but it'll be their political tool. And if we take over Quebec, I hope to God we can develop enough that it will be at least as much as possible. I have no illusions. I've been 8 years in politics. At least as much as possible, a healthy political development.